Hello and welcome to another edition of KJ's Corner. I'm your host, Kyle John Fenton, KJ for short. This is under the I'm Breaking Into Tech umbrella, where essentially, in short, I just have honestly informal conversations that I formalize in a podcast in hopes that you enjoy what we had to say. But more importantly, there are some things from a career perspective that we hope that you can benefit from. And speaking of beneficial careers, I have with me Jenny from the block. Her real name is Jennifer Melton. She is, I'm going to say, just product in general. We're going to talk about that actually at the end of the show. We're going to save it and wrap it into why titles do matter, regardless of what you might have heard before. Gifthealth, I'm going to let you explain what Gifthealth is, but this is Jennifer. How are you today? I know we're cutting up talking about parenting stuff, which we're not going to bore the whole audience with.
Yeah.
Some of them are parents, some of them are not. But how are you for the audience at home?
I'm good. I'm glad to be with you. It's always good to just like chat and have someone who understands where I'm coming from and where I want to go to. So
Yep, for sure.
this is good. Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Where are you sitting at right now? Are you at like a cubicle at your office?
Yeah, I'm in like a little phone booth.
Is it like glass? People are like staring at you right now, like seeing what's going on?
No, it's mostly covered. It's nice.
Oh, really? Oh, those are nice. That's cool. Yeah, I know some of them when I like some of the buildings, right, when they have like office shared space, there's like literally it's just glass doors and you see people like on calls. Like I love when like the big dudes who are like 6'5", they're like got their little laptop on the desk. Like I was like, how do you fit in that? That's funny.
No, just me. Great privacy. It's good.
Yeah, the acoustics sound good too, right? And I know you don't got a mic set up or anything, but I can hear you. It's clear.
No, I don't. Very informal over here. I'm like an only laptop all the time. I rarely have a microphone. I don't even use a second screen. My husband is like, "What's wrong with you? Get a monitor," but I can't handle it.
So you know what I have to say, like, and I know it's a side note. We'll get into what we're gonna talk about, but like the screen thing, I will say sometimes I think I was very much the same way. And actually now I only have one screen. Now I have a wide screen that I split into two, and it's actually beneficial because being an SE, you always want to have your chats on one conversation, so that way when someone's like, "Hey, you want to go down this path?" You know, the multitasking type thing.
Yeah.
But if you're not necessarily in a customer facing position that like has that like level, I don't actually see, or if you're not really doing like hardcore development or like a game or whatever, I really don't see the need to have two screens. I actually see sometimes as a distraction. So I'm team you. I'm gonna be honest. I'm team you for this. So you can tell Simon, hey man, thanks but no thanks. You don't need the monitor until you're in a position where you need it. I'm gonna defend you. So you're good.
Yeah, I keep it simple. It's good. I'm good.
Keep it simple, stupid. That's it. That's how it works. Speaking of that, that's literally pretty much my MO. And what we're going to do today is we're going to unpack your career a little bit. I think your story is awesome in terms of how you actually fell into product at Gifthealth. But before we do that, Gifthealth, I know I've said it a few times. What is that and what do you do?
Yeah, Gifthealth
as a company, not you specifically, but you can go into that next if you want.
Yeah. So Gifthealth is a pharmacy platform for intaking and dispensing medications. And essentially what we do is we work with certain drug types or diagnosis types and specialize in those and learn the ins and outs of them and help patients get on and adhere to medications at a greater rate. So through like lowering costs, completing prior auths to get medications approved that might not normally be approved.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then working with either our own internal dispensing pharmacy or other dispensing pharmacies to get them delivered to the patient. And so there's some software behind that, which is kind of what I'm now getting into. There's also a patient-facing side of that. Which is
I was going to ask, is it just B2B or is it B2C? I'm assuming it's both, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Cool. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so that's the gist of it. It's a lot of things I won't bore anyone with because pharmacy is
I mean, you can go deep into whatever, and there's probably different modules and customizations. But at the end of the day, if I can summarize it, you guys do provide a service to individuals from a consumer or the business that's selling to consumers for pharmaceutical quote unquote needs and help with anything in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
Cool. Got it. That's why I'm a sales engineer. Well, I mean, hey, I'm a sales engineer. I have to learn how to summarize by trade. I'm also a podcaster. So if I ran long, it'd be great. So that's what you did. So that's what you do now. So you said you were working on some projects. So product, are you, I know the answer, but for those who are listening, product manager, product owner, go into what you've been doing. I know we're going to save the title for the end, but how would you categorize what you're doing right now?
Yeah.
In a title.
In a single title.
Or something that people can relate to. Because, right, like if we're talking about the I'm breaking into tech umbrella, right? People could be, searching for customer success manager positions. They could be searching for technical architect positions. They could be searching for product manager, product owner, whatever. So I guess in terms of what would be closely associated, based on what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a little bit of a complicated question because I feel like I've done a bunch of things, and my role is.
I did that on purpose, in case you couldn't tell.
Ever changing, ever evolving. I mean, when I really first started to get into the tech side of things at Gifthealth, I would say it's more of like I mean, it's kind of always been a form of project management, technically speaking. Now it's very technically speaking. But I think what I've always been pretty good at is like seeing a gap and figuring out who can help fix it and when and how. And so at first it wasn't even super technical. It was across multiple teams. And I was pretty much just helping to make sure that, if sales is selling something, everyone else needs to know that sales is selling something, and sales needs to be good at selling it if we're going to build it, right?
Holy shit, transparency in terms of what's going on? That's crazy. Wow. Yeah. That's a noble concept. All right.
Yeah, kind of just making sure everyone was, at first, it was more process development and figuring out efficiencies across teams, closing some gaps, making sure that we weren't missing anything big on any team that had a crazy effect on anyone else, right? High efficiency. I realized quickly that I actually really like technical stuff. I like data. I like working with our developers. And so I transitioned into a similar role, but specifically under our tech side and working in our software. So now it's more like conversations about how we're going to build what we want to build and what's needed from the consumer side.
Yep. Save it, because that we're going to tie back to at the end, because I want to see the progression of how you get there, because what you did is the real move, right? And I'll summarize this for everyone to lead into what we're getting to, the importance of learning the basic foundations of management skills, understanding the essence and the business purpose behind what you're doing, to eventually, now if you're going to go execute on the technical side, you really have to know how it works, right? And you clearly are in that position, right?
Yeah. And well, that started because of where I came from, like because I was in a patient.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Role. Perfect segue. You came from the patient role. What were you doing there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I graduated with a human development degree. Like this shit does not even correlate to what I'm doing now. But yeah, I was in a really heavily patient-facing career role at the beginning of my career. I took a break. I did not enjoy it very much. I took a break, had some boundaries for myself, and then found myself in a similar position, patient-facing at Gifthealth. It's a new company at the time, only less than a year old. And so when you're in a patient-facing role or a customer, say, facing role in a new organization, you're really in the weeds, right? Like,
yep, absolutely.
Do we even know what the product is? Well, we have to tell the patient that we know what the product is. So you better know it the best you can.
Right. And I'm laughing because it's just like sometimes that happens. Like you're just a really good person at this role, and you're like, all right, you're gonna figure it out as we sell it. Like, okay.
Yeah. And I found myself working with a lot of technical people just because the company was so small. So software.
Yeah, you guys only have what, like anywhere between 51 and 100. That's what Crunchbase is saying. It could be bigger now.
Yeah, getting larger very quickly, but
good for you. Love that.
At the time, I think I was like the 21st hire or something of the sorts. So
oh wow, 0000021. Love that. Look at you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really small. So to kind of bypass all of the nitty gritty, just really in the weeds with the product, really trying to figure out what we were going to be good at with everyone else, like alongside of everyone else. And I put myself out there and I was like, hey, I want to do more. This isn't the role I want to grow into at this company. I'm enjoying learning the product. I'm enjoying gathering user feedback and making things better. And so that's kind of how my role progressed. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for me. That's something that, aside from the technical skills, right? Like we're all getting better at doing the day-to-day of our job. But what I'm really growing in the most and what I'm so grateful for is growing in my confidence and my ability to say like, hey, this is actually what I'm enjoying. So where can I do more of it?
Love it.
and not being afraid to kind of take that route, because I think that's how I've developed. And also, I was talking to my manager recently and just telling him I wanted to grow even more down a specific path, and he was like, well, like, you've learned the things I've given you, and I trust that you're capable and like you're smart and you can figure it out. And to me at the time that felt like a no-brainer, but I'm sure there are people that don't do that are given actionables and don't do them. And so just like learning the right ways to communicate what I want and what I'm enjoying, while still being completely and utterly available to the needs of the organization and the company as well. And kind of balancing those have really helped me grow. I think I'm also very lucky. I mean, my team and the mentors in the company and people who trust me have given me a tremendous amount of opportunities. So I don't want to.
It's good culture.
Forget to say that too, because I'm sure there are.
You got to give the kudos. You got to do it. I get it.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's lots of people at big companies that want to do more, and that's just not how things work.
It's tough. I would say if we could take the same scenarios, it's gonna be a lot easier for you to probably quote unquote move up the ladder than me, right? I don't even know how many employees that we have, but I mean we're in the Fortune 200, right? We're huge. So, but to your point, and I think it's a good segue, and I want to ask actually about this, because being able to move up, right? You had said a couple things that I think are actually super, super important for anyone trying to get into technical roles, but just upskilling in general, which was one, industry experience. You had the actual patient-facing experience, and then you said you started to enjoy the tech. I think I know the answer to this, but I'd love to hear your perspective as this, as we tie it into the title conversation in PD, because I think that's a good thing to end on. Would you say that you working in that patient-facing capacity prepared you enough to get over the technical hurdle? Because I've found sometimes, like especially in my career, when I was showing people how to build. So for those of you who don't know, I was a low-code automation implementation guy for a while, and then eventually I became an expert in all the low-code tools because I was helping sell them, but I was also building at the same time. And I found that people who could learn the product had the industry expertise behind the problem they wanted to solve with technology, and it made it easier for them to learn because there wasn't a barrier. So I want to ask you, do you think that that's true? Do you think it's not? And what would you have to say about that? Because I've been trying to educate people on that, and I'm wondering if my message just either isn't landing, or maybe people don't get it, or whatever. Like I said, obviously everyone's like, just listen to me. Neither here nor there. But what would you have to say about that? Because I would say that's, looking at your experience, it's like, well, yeah, obviously she's killing it. She knew what patients need, and then she helped build a product to give them what they need. That just makes sense, but it's harder to execute. So I'd love to hear how you got there and what things you've extrapolated that have made you successful as we lead into the
I think that it's true. I think that, look, there's like a million things that need built or done and could be built, right?
Absolutely.
Like everyone has great ideas, but like where's the motivation behind that if we haven't seen the problem? And so I think that's like honestly a really big part of it for me is I've seen the issues with the product, and not specifically at Gifthealth, but across the board, like
the industry, the market, what is currently available. Absolutely. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. And so there's a motivation to make that better. And I think that is, I think that if before knowing the industry and before knowing the gaps, if someone was like, here, learn SQL, I'd be like, why? How?
Why? Yes. Why?
For what reason?
Yes.
Now, because I'm motivated by my role, I'm like, oh yeah, I actually want to do that because I don't want to rely on our data scientists every single time I have a question.
Data scientist to run select star from this table where, like, I'm a techie, right? I get it, but like, it's so much easier for you to do it because guess what? You know where you want to apply it. That person doesn't give a shit. He's like, well, I'll just pull it for you and give you what you want.
And and honestly, like that's the gist of my role right now, and that's kind of where I'm trying to grow. Is like, how can I learn these very technical skills in a way that's feasible, right? Because like I don't need to be the best developer in the world to do my job, but I don't want to use their time when I shouldn't have to.
Love that. Any developer listening is just like, wow, this is great.
Well, and maybe it's coming from my pride too, because if I'm being completely honest, like I hate asking a question when I know I could figure it out.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you and my wife are very similar in that regard. You have a little bit of an ego too. You're like, I'll figure this shit out. I can do it.
Oh my gosh. Literally the other day I was working from home, and I said to Simon, I was like, my husband, I was like, oh, I've been ruminating on this thing for like 20 minutes, and I know if I just sent it Slack, I would get an answer in like 5 seconds, but I need to figure it out. Like, I need to figure it
Dude,
out.
it's so funny. And like everyone would be like, you gotta block out that mindset. You always gotta ask for help. I do the same thing.
Yeah. But like, to that point, there's a time and a place. And like, if I'm learning and if that's valuable, I'm going to figure it out.
You're gonna figure it out. Yeah, and honestly, like that's how you learn. You
Yeah.
learn by messing up. You learn by, and I
Yes.
think it's to your point, and I've seen this as well, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Is I think sometimes people they get tripped up at that first failure. They get tripped up at that. Oh, this is too tough. It's like just muscle through it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think, and actually, here's a question too, and this is a side note, but I think it's a good chat. Did you play sports growing up?
Somewhat.
So,
My attitude towards sports does not match my attitude towards my profession.
It doesn't. Interesting. Oh, so you were just an apathetic like athlete?
100%. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's shocking to me. Well, not shocking as much. I mean, people can be put together in different ways. I mean, emotional intelligence takes multiple forms. But normally, when I hear about someone who's willing to put forth a little bit more of the effort, it usually comes from someone who's got either like they're like a military brat or like or an athlete, right? Because for me, it's like that's what like I'm like a gamer, right? And I was an athlete, so naturally it's achievement hunting for me. I'm kind of like, I'm going to figure this out because I know it's beneficial for me because it's going to help me down the line. Plus, anyone who's played a game in any RPG knows complete all the side quests to make it easier as you rip through the right. And that's kind of what I've based it. But you're doing that too. So I guess the better question would be, are you a gamer?
No.
Wow. So you're just a go-getter. Wow. Hire Jenny, man. That's incredible. I love that. That's awesome.
I think I just really like learning. I really do.
Sure. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, and like I said, if you threw this stuff at me without a motivation or context, I don't think I would say the same. Sure. But right now, I'm growing in a way that I haven't before, and I'm really enjoying it, and so I'm motivated by that, and I want to do well. Like,
and I think what you're describing too, and I think this is a good segue into the career conversation because I know you have some things to say about that. Is like finding a way to give yourself a purpose that you can actually somewhat give a shit about is going to be the key to growing because like one, you can't sell anything you don't believe in. So if you do believe it, now start to learn the problems that people have and how the technology solves the problem. Not that the technology solves the problem, because I'm sure you agree there's some times where you're like, you might be in a scenario where like, yeah, we can help, but it might actually be easier if you did A, B, and C and call it. There's merit to that, but you'll never know that unless you know the actual problem. So I've found it was very easy for me. What were people doing day to day? I found myself in a corporate job slogging away, and I was like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. I learned how to automate things without necessarily knowing how to code. And then I said, hey, do you find yourself in this? I'd love if I could save 5 minutes. What if I showed you that? What if we could do the X, Y, and Z? Yo, now we're talking, right? It's a mindset thing. So I appreciate you sharing that and giving an example, even though you weren't an athlete or.
Oh my gosh, no! It's like my worst quality.
I just try to extrapolate things that are similarities, but you're an anomaly. I love it. It's great.
Oh no, it's my worst quality. Like people want to.
Don't stop.
You don't want me on your team if you're competitive, because I'll just be like, eh.
I'm kind of the same way. Like people yell at me, they're like, "You're good at things. Why aren't you more competitive?" I'm like, I don't know. I smoke, I guess. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's because to your point, I think there's a level of, and I good on the career. Like, I'm competitive when it makes sense to be competitive. Like, if I'm right, like, because to me, I'm like, oh, I'm playing a pickup game. I don't care for that. Now, if I'm paying to play, okay, maybe that. Why? Because I paid to play, right? Yeah. But then, like, even in my bowling league, I'm not competitive at all. But to that point, I can't really be competitive in that bowling league. It's a non-sanctioned league, and I'm not really trying that hard, and I'm the second best bowler in the damn league. So, like, why would I be an asshole and be competitive? That doesn't make any sense. But, like, from a work perspective, there's a level of, I know I need to highlight myself in comparison to my peers, but I also want to boost my peers at the same time. So the like competitive edge that you'll normally see in sales, I just don't really necessarily have it because I've never needed it. Yeah. I've always just been kind of good, and I've always tried to help others, and that's been fine for me. And then obviously the go-getters are like, you should be doing more. And I'm like, are you just mad that I'm doing it as good as you and not working as hard? Like what? Like what's the deal? I don't know. I know I'm kind of riffing at this point, but like I feel like you've got to be somewhat similar, right? Like that's how I look at it.
I think it's valid, and I think it's valid to the conversation that like to me, perspective I've always been a person who's taken a step back and been like, what's the bigger picture here?
Always
And
have to. Yeah.
and for me, it's like in life, outside of anything specific, outside of work, just in general, there are things that drive me. And one of those is my family. And
Of course.
as
Same.
a professional, like I do this so that I can enjoy life with my family.
I've
And
said point blank, work is secondary to me. People are like, that's crazy. I'm like, it's my primary focus to put food
yeah,
on the table. And you can go look at my reviews and see
yeah,
that I'm a good employee. But to your point, it doesn't matter. Salesforce is going to continue whether I'm working or not. Like,
yeah.
my
But
family will not. There's a difference.
yeah, but like also because of that, and now having a baby girl, like wanting to be the best employee and do the best for my career that I can, because I want to provide for her and I don't want to loathe doing it. Like
Bingo.
I want to enjoy doing it. And so I think when we're talking about motivation, like in high school, I played sports, and you're like high school girls basketball and you lose a game and like half the locker room's crying. And
Oh
then
my God. I remember how catty the high school girls
I
basketball
hated it.
was.
I hated
Oh
it.
my God.
I quit. I quit so fast because
Sure you did.
I'm just like, why are we
Were you any
crying?
good? Like, was it
It's
even
high
worth trying to?
I mean, I was decent, but not great. But like, it's like high
Okay.
school girls basketball. Like, why are we crying? And maybe that was like a little, even maybe too mature of me. But at the time, I'm like, none of you are playing in college. Like, why do we care?
But that's foresight. Like, that's just actually having spatial awareness, or at least some awareness of what's going on around you, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
for work, it's like, oh, this is my livelihood.
Yeah.
This is providing for me and my family,
Yeah.
and
We're not
this is my
half-assing it.
and this is my mental health. Like I
Right.
need a job that
Yes.
I'm enjoying. So let's not stay in the patient facing role that I know I don't want to do forever, because I don't want to
Bingo.
dig that
Got it.
hole. That's not setting me up well. That's not the way I want to go.
Mhm.
So where are the opportunities? Which route can I take that is I'm learning, I'm growing, it's enjoyable, and it's setting me up well to be present with my family, to enjoy the time that I have at work, to become a better person in general, and learn
Sure.
skills that are applicable outside of work too. Like, how am I managing my time? How am I being honest with people around me? I mean, these are all things that I'm just really grateful that I'm actually getting to experience them. And I know that I'm saying this coming from there's a little bit of luck, right? Like,
We're both coming from a place of privilege right now. It's okay.
yeah,
We know it, and
yeah,
we're okay with it because we work for it and we
yeah.
like it. But you're sharing the knowledge, be like, hey, I had to do X, Y, and Z to get here. Yeah, but you're
Yeah,
appreciative of it.
and I don't want to
No.
say that I don't want it to come off as like, oh, I just got this job and the company was small and I said I wanted this and they gave it to me. Like I worked really hard. I
Yeah,
did.
anyone who thinks you could just join a startup and it's going to work out for you, you're crazy. Like, you have to be on, or they're going
Oh,
to just get rid of you in like a week. Yeah,
oh,
no
I mean,
question.
and I still like I worked hard, really, really hard.
Absolutely.
For a lot, and I still do. But again, I'm motivated by the opportunities that it's providing me. And so it's a little bit of right place, right time, but it's also willingness and dedication to where I'm at, even when at the time it wasn't where I wanted to be. I mean, like when I'm telling you, I left my first job out of college and was like, I never want to do anything remotely like this again. And then I took this job at Gifthealth, and it was like almost the same.
Yeah, the
But
experience compounds. It's just now you're on the software side. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yep.
So like I was not loving it at first. I was just
Right.
like, I know that this is good for me. I know that there's opportunity here. And I'm going to learn, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to, even if it doesn't work out here, I'll learn from it. And so just being the willingness to do that, to put myself in that hard situation is probably key at that point of time in my life. And I was young, but I'm really glad it's where I ended up.
But the adversity shapes everyone, right? I mean, it's, if anything was easy, right? If everything was easy, no one would work towards it, right? Like, sometimes you got to put yourself in adversity. Sometimes you have to put yourself in positions that you weren't there. Speaking of that, I think it's a good segue into the last thing that I've teased 8,400 172 times now. You said you've had having a conversation in terms of what you're doing now at Gifthealth. And this does happen, right? If you've worked at a startup, I worked at a startup just because I was a sales engineer for UiPath, right? What was I also doing? I was helping run enablement. I was helping train AEs. You're doing a bunch of other stuff. I know you're doing very similar. So your current title right now is project development, project manager. You said you had talked to your manager about titles. Why are you doing that in lieu of what we just said? Because I think actually your mindset behind the title is very important, because I actually had a very similar experience when I got fired from UiPath. So I'll let you run on that conversation that I stopped you when we were chatting before I hit record, so you can say what you shared again. So I'd love to hear what you're going through right now and why that's important to you.
Yeah, I think my role is ever changing, and that's a really good thing. I don't want to do the same thing forever. So I want to say that, like, I'm not an advocate of this is my title and I'm only doing the functions that fall under this job title.
Work for the role you want, not the role you have. Yep, absolutely.
That's not what I want to do. I want to be more available, and I want to be developing my skills more than that. But like I said, my career and the work that I do, the greater purpose of that is to enjoy my life outside of work and to enjoy my family and to provide for them and play a role in that alongside of my husband. And so at the same time, I do feel like I'm always conscientious of where am I headed. And part of that is my role, my job title. Because if I'm not going to be at Gifthealth forever, where am I going to go next? What do I even look for? Is there even a role that's the same as this one out there? Or do I need to learn something a little bit more to know?
Yeah, newsflash. Your role does, it exists. It's just a different 3 different work streams that you're supporting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. And so it's hard because you're in this space where, like, on one hand, it's a beautiful thing that I'm learning so many different things at once. And I like it. I really enjoy it. And I do enjoy my work. But also at the other end of things is I'm thinking about my future, and I'm thinking, what's next? Do I go more product? Do I go even more technical? Like, do I actually want to learn how to code? You know, because right now when you're dabbling in a little bit of everything, I guess it's kind of like a work crisis, like a midlife
Welcome to the sales
crisis.
engineer's dilemma. Like, this is what happens. People like get in the sales engineer roles and they're like, yeah, do I want to go product? Do I want to lean full bore into sales? Do I want It happens. Yeah. It's a good problem to have, but it's still something that you should be aware of if you end up in the space. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think it's just when it comes to job titles and what I'm currently doing, it feels currently vague, and that's okay, and that's a good thing. But my goal is to eventually know who I am in this company and the role that I play, because I want to know my opportunities for where I'm going next. It's not so much.
And to help you out just for a second, we were talking off in terms of what she's doing. So the role right now, product development, project manager, pretty much project manager for any time a product needs to go through any enhancement, development, whatever. You're leading that full bore, connecting business problem to this. But what's actually happening with that is that's not really what PMs normally do on a product side, because you're sitting down more with the development and you're actually helping develop the product. So you're actually playing a little bit more of what I would consider more of a technical architect role. So the reason I wanted, Jennifer, to bring this up is this is what happens sometimes when you're applying for roles, and what you think you're qualified for on paper doesn't actually match. If you're not getting the job, it's because people like Jenny here have all of this other experience packaged in that role that now they can bring to another company. And she's looking at this smart by saying, well, maybe I should probably highlight it for something that's actually valuable. That's what I wanted to extrapolate, because I think that that's super, super valuable, especially for you, because honestly, not for nothing, the more technical you can say, but if you're sitting in something that's more business focused and you're client facing and focusing, you're going to succeed. I'm living proof of it, right? Like, I'm just the gamer techie, hick, I guess, right? Like, it's pretty much what I am, but I've learned how do I apply these technical concepts into that. And that's what you're doing too. But I needed the title to match that. I got fired because I bitched about my title. Like, I'll say that full bore. That's why they got rid of me. They're like, I don't want to deal with this guy anymore, right? Was it the right decision? I don't know. But I knew I was a principal level guy. What did principal level guy make? What you're talking about. Money that I can take care of my family. While still doing what I'm saying, I'm bringing all this up to just kind of summarize. Like, I went through all of this, and I'm so glad you're doing this, because this is what matters when you get the role. Getting it's one thing. leveling in it, it's in another, and you're recognizing that, and you're making it known and documenting I'm happy for you. I'm saying all this to say, like, I'm happy for you, and I'm glad you're going through it, because I wish I could have had that discussion in a cordial way. You have a company that's willing to have it. That's really cool.
Yeah, they're really open to it, and I think that the best part of it all has been, like, when I bring up these conversations, there's actionable items, right? Like, I'm being guided. I'm actually being
like,
led.
do this, and we can say, yeah, all right.
Yeah, like,
Right, exactly.
okay, maybe, like, if you're saying ABC, then try XYZ, and let's reconnect and figure out, like, maybe you want to go more this route that's a little bit more data, or maybe you want to actually go product. And even, like, part of the conversation, KJ, was like, how can we best support you if it is product, because right now that's not our bread and butter,
Oh, beautiful.
So
I love that.
I think that that's just, like, the thing that I have to come in and, like, express the most right now, that I feel like I can't leave without saying, is, like, I'm just really well supported. And I do feel like part of that is my doing as well. It's not just luck based on the company that I work at, but again, expressing my needs in a way that is cordial and timely, and also the willingness to still do what I'm doing. And that's how it's happening. Because, like, maybe right now I don't have, like, this big fancy title. And it is what it is. I don't, like I said, I'm totally happy where I'm at the moment.
I mean, yeah, as long as you're getting paid at the end of the day, you're not going to care. But eventually, you'd like to have some sort of title that correlates to what industry standard titles would be for what you're doing, which is fair. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm supported, and they're hearing me out, and we're having those conversations in a productive way. And so I think that that's kind of all I could ask for at the moment. But yes, it is important to me. It is important about my next move, and even if that's not until 5 years from now or whenever, like, who knows what's going to happen in the next 6 months. It's a startup, right?
Well aware of that.
Yeah, but just in general, future thinking, setting myself up well, and using the support while I have it. Like, where I go next, maybe I won't be as supported. So
I usually like to have, individuals like yourself leave a piece of parting words and actionable advice, and just like you said, not everyone does have that support system in their current situation, but they might be stuck. What are some things that you would suggest people do if they do feel stuck and don't have that support? It could be anything, just off the cuff. You seem to have the good head for it, so I'd just be curious. Like, if you found yourself, let's say you do go to another company, what is the first thing you do if you don't get that support, and what would you do to try and get it?
Yeah, well, I think something I'll say is, like, support and almost mentorship, I guess, in a more formal manner.
That's what I meant. Yeah, whatever the term. Yeah,
doesn't have to be from someone with a massive title. I think that bouncing ideas off of even just your equal peers is like have open conversations.
I've learned so much shit from my peers.
Yes.
So much. It's crazy.
Yes. And, like, your peers can totally be your references. Like, we don't.
Yeah, let's look at. Yeah, let's see right here. Yeah, receive. Let me look at. Yeah, let's look at my recommendations here, just to literally corroborate this. I love how you're just, like, saying, like, yeah, here's the playbook. Yeah, like, literally all my latest references, no joke, that I had when I got let go. Right, AEs I worked with. Right, AE, product manager, another AE, my boss, which was great. I'm so glad he did that for me. That's fantastic. I love you, Jared. Thank you so much. He wasn't the one who let me go, by the way. Jared was awesome if he's listening to this. But yeah, another, AE and SC I worked with, they can be peers. They don't have to be these crazy titles, because guess what they can do? They can speak to your candor. They can speak to your personality, and that comes out. I love what that you're saying. I love it. Keep going.
Yeah, you also just don't know where your peers are going to end up. Like, they could be the boss tomorrow.
Oh, dude, literally, as I was going through it, didn't even know. Brett, now he's, like, running some damn sales at, like, some AI company. It's like, yep, good for you, buddy.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, like, be good to your peers, be good to your coworkers, and lean into that. Also, if you're in a non-supportive environment, you need your coworkers, because that sucks. Like, that work environment is not fun. I've been there. And, like, what gets you through that and helps you to still come out on the other side as the better employee is leaning into your coworkers and still learning and growing, even though the people above you may not be the most supportive about your career path. Because, and like, there are just periods of life that we go through that are shitty. Like, I was in my first role and it sucked, and I just did it, and I made friends with my peers, and it made it a little bit better. And they taught me a lot because they were smarter than I was, and I was fresh out of college, and I came out of college young.
Oh yeah, I
And
remember we talked about that. Yeah, you were like, you weren't you done before like 20 or whatever? Like, weren't you
I
some
was
brainiac?
I graduated in 3 years. I don't even know how old that makes me. It's all a blur. But I guess I had just turned 21. Yeah.
I mean, I was young too when I started, but I still did a full 4 years. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
even with honors classes going in. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But all that to say, I think kindness it really does go a long way in the workplace.
Lead with empathy.
Yeah.
You're not. I mean, you're closer to solving world hunger than Salesforce is, candidly. Well, I don't know. We got a lot of ESG initiatives. We do give 1%. I actually think we probably do more. But just from a level perspective, but to that point, like, we're not solving world hunger, so it's like, just make it reasonable. Like, I've never really understood. Like, I understood why the stuffiness corporate like stigma exists, but like it's not as pervasive as I think it even was even a decade ago. Like, I remember when I started at EY, in comparison to the way people interact now in a professional setting, it's very different. It seems a little bit more informal and more relaxed, and I think it's because people are generally like, okay, we're feeding the machine. Okay. Like,
yeah.
So it's a good mindset. Your daughter's gonna be cool. Like, I can just tell, like, if you guys are like that at home, I mean, the mindset's fantastic. And that's why, like, I'm so glad you took the time to chat and share your story today, because I think the more people hear about just like that comment you said, just like, you go through periods in life where it's just shitty. Yeah. Guess what? The happiest people in the world are happy because they probably went through some of the saddest and low points of whatever. Like, you need these ebbs and flows, like staying. And mind you, I'm not sitting here saying go chase adrenaline, and like, if you're scared of heights, go skydive, right? But like, like, I think sometimes you need to put yourself in positions of adversity or deal with it in order for you to truly appreciate the scenarios. And that seems like what you've been doing, which is awesome.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. I appreciate you having the conversation about it. I feel like my thoughts are always scatterbrained about work because maybe my work is so scattered also.
But I mean, it's a good summary and a good way to end, because like, this is kind of what breaking into tech is like. It's scary, it's muddy, it's different, it's all over the place. And I see a lot of people, get into it and don't like it because of that. It's like, yeah, you want to work in tech, structure does not exist. If you're coming in and you're instituting the structure, maybe.
And also, if you weren't taught in a class module by module about anything technical, you're going to feel stupid for a while.
Yeah. And that's to your point on, you break in. I tell people all the time, they're like, why aren't I breaking in? I'm like, do you know tech? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, walk me through how to develop something. They're like, what? I'm like, you have to gather your requirements first. What do you mean? Well, we have to define your problem. Oh, now what? And then you say like, oh yeah, what are your exceptions? Like, and people are like, what are you talking? I'm like, this is what all of us techies have in our brains. We're always thinking that way, right? Because we have to. That's why we've been able to go into conversations like, oh, we're objective and we've done the work, right? I just love all these little nuggets you're just giving. It's like, yes, like, this is it. And how you achieve it is obviously going to come to, but I think the path you took was you did it in a subject matter that you had experience in.
Yeah.
And I think that's vital. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. I think, and if it's not experience, it's getting the experience. And leading back to the point about it maybe being a little bit messy and not ideal, like, you might not want to be in the role that you're in, but if it's the industry you're in, do it. Like, if it's the industry you want to be in, be dedicated, because you cannot be an expert if you don't have the experience in the industry, and you cannot make it better. I mean,
I'm just thinking of all the damn TikTok influencers and shit who like, oh, they like, and mind you, I'm calling some of you out who might be listening to this. If you sold for 2 years and now you think you're a sales expert, you're dumb.
Yeah.
You're dumb as hell, because you have like, you don't have the actual, you don't have enough time. Like, you were talking about parenting. Like, I know we were talking about it. You're like, oh, holy shit. Like, KJ is just like eons ahead, and it's only a year and a half of experience different. But in terms of the life that she's had, it's literally double the time, whatever. Like, you're talking about, whatever. And I'm not trying to call everyone out, but it's like, you have to actually inherently understand these problems in order to succeed long term. Short term, you can obviously get away with it, but long term, I think that's what you're talking about. is that
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm still learning them. I mean, there are still a million and one things that I don't know crap about when it comes to pharma. It
Sure.
is a beast of an industry.
I mean, there's a whole legal like law that I'm sure you
Oh,
probably have no clue like on.
yeah. I'm like, can we do this? They're like, illegal. I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't know. And so it's just asking the right questions and being able to be uncomfortable. It is what it is. We can't know it all.
Nope,
And
not at all.
if we want to break into something new, that discomfort is so important. And just the vagueness of it all, and the scatterbrain
Embracing
feeling
it. Yeah.
24/7. I mean, I spend half of my time like, what am I doing? I don't know. Regathering my thoughts constantly, right? Like making new lists of shit I want to
Someone
learn.
comes over and says, "What'd you do today?" And you literally show them a screen of like 5 sticky notes. You're like, "But this is what we're gonna do."
Yeah. Well, this morning I thought I was going to do this, but then by 10 a.m. I was doing this, and then I didn't finish it because this happened. You know.
I love it. I love it. You're just describing the typical day at a software startup. We can go on and on, but I know I want to let you go. Get back to work. I want to go back to obviously my kids as well. Thank you so much for the chat. Always wanted to ask before I put it out, can people connect with you on LinkedIn? We're obviously going to share your tag on the post. Connect. It was great. The DMs were awesome. Candidly, full transparency, it took us like months to get this shit on the books. which by the way, I'm not blaming Jennifer at all.
No.
She's a new mom now. She deserves all the grace in the world. Mothers, by the way, if you're listening to this, I give you all the grace in the world. I don't care what you've done, as long as you're not a horrible human being, you deserve all of the grace and all of the compassion that you can get. And if you're not getting it, find a way to get it. Y'all deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I am not pandering, by the way. I'm a happily married man, but like I can just, oh my god, like she's just. You guys are absolute rock stars.
Anyone working with a new mom should never take anything personally, and they should always be flexible, because this is crazy. This is crazy.
That's the part right there when you get the video. Just highlight that and post that on your LinkedIn. It's like the first video you see. Like this is how I feel about this. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. Anything else you want to say? Otherwise,
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, KJ.
Awesome. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel. You can find us also on Facebook as well, the community. We do some lives so often. Our founder, Aileah Olds, does that as well. This has been Jennifer Melton, or Jenny, as I saw here, with no title. I absolutely love not coming in. I have been KJ. This has been KJ's Corner under the I'm Breaking Into Tech umbrella. We hope you appreciated the episode, and we'll see y'all next time. Cheers.